Hello and welcome to News Central Television. This is News Now with me, Joe Hansen. Let's take a look at the top stories for this hour. On the top stories this hour, Inspector General of Police orders clampdown on perpetrators of Borno police station attack as President Tinubu orders investigation into terrorists. Telecom operators want new tariffs increase implemented by first quarter of 2025. And Rwanda demands solution after DRC peace talks fail. Stay with us to get details of these stories and more in a moment. We begin in Borno State, where President Bola Tinubu has called for an investigation into the recent terrorist attacks on a military base that killed 6 soldiers. The attack was reportedly launched by members of the Islamic State West Africa province in the early hours of January the 4th in Sabongida, Damboa local government area. The ensuing gun battle between the military and members of ISWAP led to the killing of 34 of the terror group, as many of them fled the scene of the attack. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has ordered actions against attackers of the Gaza Division of Police headquarters in Borno State. A Thursday attack by Boko Haram terrorists left 2 police officers dead and 1 other officer critically injured as the terrorists exchanged fire with police on duty at the station before they were eventually overpowered and repelled with the assistance of the Civilian Joint Task Force who was stationed near the police station. Responding to the incident, which occurred at about 12:10 a.m., a Friday statement signed by the Force Public Relations Officer ACP Olumuyiwa Dijobi identified the dead 2 police officers as Inspector Bartholomew Klawa and Corporal Mustafa Huzaifat. Adejobi said Egbetoku, after condemning the act, ordered an immediate and thorough crackdown on the perpetrators, saying that any cop killers will not go unpunished. The IGP also expressed deep condolences to the families of the deceased officers, affirming that their sacrifice in the line of duty will not be forgotten. Well, away from that, the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has signed the state's 2025 appropriation bill into law. At an estimated 3.36 trillion naira, the budget is nearly 50% higher than last year's. News Central's Lekon Obanjo tells us more. The poor audio condition of that footage will bring to you more information on that in a subsequent news bulletin. But let's move on now and tell you that the Association of Telecommunication Companies of Nigeria on Thursday commended the federal government's decision to hike call and data tariffs, as well as invest in the sector's infrastructure. ATCON President Tony Mokbere told the newsmen in Lagos that though the increase was long overdue, it was welcome and a work in progress. Mokbere said that the tariff hike should be implemented in the first quarter of the year so that the mobile network operators can start planning. According to Mokbere, vandalizing of telecoms infrastructure in the country has been successful over the years because the infrastructure was not being actively protected. He noted that the government involvement, he believed, the vandalization would reduce to the barest minimum. We'll call for a quick break, and when we do come back, we would bring to you more stories. Do well to stay with us here on News Now, here on News Central. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us here on News Now on News Central Television. Earlier on, we did tell you about the Lagos State Governor signing the budget, the 2025 budget, into law. Let's bring to you that report by our correspondent, Telecom Onobanjo.
The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has signed the 2025 appropriation bill, earlier presented before the State House of Assembly, into law. The bill, tagged Budget of Sustainability, is a 3.366 trillion naira package that aims to address infrastructure, economic diversification, and other critical sectors. Governor Sanwo-Olu said the budget underscored his administration's commitment to prioritizing infrastructure, with 62% allocated to capital expenditure and 38% to recurrent spending, representing a focus on driving long-term investment while maintaining efficient delivery of essential services. According to details, the budget's revenue framework projects 2.342 trillion naira from total internally generated revenue and 626.137 billion naira from federal transfers, with a deficit financing of 398.662 billion naira. The governor on November 21, 2024, presented a budget estimate of 3,535,998,198,401 naira. However, the State Assembly passed the 2025 appropriation bill, increasing it to 3,366,815,224,144 naira, stressing the imperative of developing the state's electricity, road infrastructure, and education, amongst others. Lagosians will be hoping that the 2025 budget will deliver on the promises of the Sanwo-Olu administration, while also improving the quality of life and pioneering the delivery of democratic dividends to all electorates. In Lagos for News Central, Telecom Onobanjo.
Ohaneze Ndigbo, a prominent socio-cultural organization, will hold its election today, Friday, January the 10th. The group hopes for a smooth election process and is asking participants to play by the rules in order to avoid litigations. News Central's Chinwe Ogele tells us more.
Naturally, the election of the new president of Ohaneze Ndigbo should be a hitch-free exercise due to the rotational system of selection from the Igbo-speaking states as provided in their constitution. According to the arrangement, Rivers State should produce the next President General of the body. The court ruling on Wednesday must have dealt a blow on the ambition of former Inspector General of Police Mike Okiru, having been restrained from contesting for the office of the President General of the apex body.
His rights are clearly established that truly he's from Rivers State, and you go on a frivolous legal journey. The court, where it is progressive and active, will reverse it.
While Okiru's interest in the leadership is hinged on his state of origin, Rivers, some allege that a presidency of Mike Okiru means Imo State is still in charge.
So Mike Okiru is from the Ebema in Imo State. In fact, his other brother is one of the SS in Ebema in Imo State.
A traditional ruler in Abia State and a member of Imobi Ohaneze, His Royal Majesty Eze Nzawata Mbakwe says Okiru is Igbo and qualified to run.
He's from Rivers State, and part of Rivers State belongs to the Igbo race, so he's qualified.
Former Secretary to Abia State Government Ralph Ebu, however, says the Constitution should have addressed any doubts without involvement of the courts.
You want to do elections where the President General will be involved, and suddenly somebody has a recourse, has a need to go to court last minute. It shows lack of proper organization. It shows political immaturity. We must be serious. Because something as big as changing the entire executive of a body of the magnitude of Ohaneze ought to be a process that is well-defined, that is clear, that is certain, that cannot be thwarted by last-minute intrigues.
Ebu believes the body ought to expunge things that polarize it and cast doubt on the quality of leaders that are in place at any time. A new leadership of Ohaneze Ndigbo that will pilot the affairs of the Igbos worldwide will emerge on Friday for a 4-year tenure. In Omahia for News Central, I am Chinwe Ogele.
Abubakar Yusufu, counsel to the former governor of Edo State, has refuted claims that Godwin Obaseki is in hiding. Yusufu told News Central that the former governor has been on a medical trip out of the country and that he formally handed over to his successor, Governor Monday Okpebolo, before he left. Let's tell you that Nigeria's Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Nkiru Onyejocha, says workers will no longer be required to wait for 5 years before their salary is reviewed by the federal government. Nkiru added that the government is doing all it can to avoid workers protesting their wages or going on strike in 2025. Let's also tell you that Nigeria and China have pledged to build strategic relations, leveraging on their areas of strength to tap into available potentials. This was made known following a visit by the Chinese Foreign Minister to President Bola Tinubu to the State House in Abuja, where they say that the current relations between both nations have been upgraded to a strategic comprehensive level. News Central's Amadine Uyi reports.
Foreign Minister was received by President Bola Tinubu at the State House in Abuja. The centerpiece of discussion revolved around the Nigeria-China relations and cooperation. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, while updating newsmen on discussions held, says that the meeting focused on fostering economic growth and improving the livelihoods of citizens.
The partnership reflects our shared vision, of our two nations to foster economic growth, sustainable development, and mutual prosperity. So I would say that the goal is to improve the livelihood of our peoples.
He says agreements and MOUs signed will be implemented to the letter.
Nigeria remains committed to the implementation of the agreements and MOUs, and also, of course, to, just like Minister Wang said, to ensure that we expand this upgraded relationship, which is the comprehensive strategic partnership.
The Chinese Foreign Minister, while lauding the initiative by both countries, urged both nations to continue building their friendship and cooperation to create immense impact for citizens and the continent.
Under the guidance of our two presidents, we should continue to make our relations strategic, continue to firmly support each other on issues concerning our respective core concerns, and continue to be each other's good brother that is trustworthy.
He adds that respective strengths will be leveraged to build several key sectors, including clean energy, mining, defense, finance, amongst others. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Great report there from Amadine Uyi. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, more stories here on News Now. Welcome back. A disturbing 2-minute video of Stella Nwadigo, a teacher who repeatedly hit a 3-year-old pupil of Christ's Method School, Ishawo Road, Ikorodu, Lagos, for not quickly grasping his number right and instructions, emerged on Wednesday. The video has elicited reactions from many Nigerians, parents and educators alike. Parents and educators therefore believe there is need for discipline in schools, but must be done with caution. News Central's Omolola Olade has more in this report.
For me. Trending earlier this week was a viral video of a teacher repeatedly hitting a 3-year-old boy in a school in Lagos for not quickly grasping his number writing instructions. This video has since sparked reactions from many Nigerians online and offline, especially parents who believe the incident is simply a case of assault. Some parents therefore believe there is a thin line between discipline and assault of pupils, hence the need for teachers to show professionalism at all times.
It's an assault. That cannot be discipline. No, it's an assault. Because the age of the boy, 3 years old, what would 3 years old boy know? That's wasn't about it. And the more she was slapping that boy, the boy was shaking. There was no how she could get the best out of that boy.
So when I saw that video, I was very, very angry. I was pissed. But at the end of the day, I realized that I think professionalism is very, very important when it comes to teaching a child, in the sense that there is the area of discipline, yes, and assault is a no, no, no.
However, educationists and relevant stakeholders condemn the teacher's action, saying it's a violation of the child's rights and emphasizing that schools must be a safe space for children.
Maybe the father, maybe she has been provoked elsewhere or provoked by the pupils that the incident happened to. But at the end of the day, as a role model and as a professional, there's a way you treat situations like that. If we we must know the need of that child.
When it comes to children, do not mind your business. Child protection is everyone's business. We must make sure that we let people know, especially when you see children who have several marks on their body, and the child is living with a parent or a guardian, or the child is being locked out, the child is going through some form of emotional abuse or psychological abuse. It is not right. Children also go through abuse, and we should not let this go on. That case was a case of, it was not discipline, it was straight assaults.
While Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency have intervened by arresting the teacher, the school involved also reacted to the video by suspending the teacher indefinitely until investigation is concluded. The school management also introduced a confidential whistleblowing system for prompt reporting of inappropriate behavior. Although the school's response is a step in the right direction, many hope that more will be done by the government and critical stakeholders to protect children at all costs. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Omolola Ololade.
Bayelsa State Governor Diri is asking members of his cabinet to brace for more productivity to ensure that the various projects and programs earmarked to celebrate the February 14th anniversary of his first year, second-term administration are delivered. Diri, who reminded members of the Executive Council of his earlier directive to present their performance report for 2024, disclosed that his administration has mapped out projects to be inaugurated to mark his first-year anniversary.
Governance is timed. I'm sure some of you will be surprised that we are now going into the end of our first year. In some few weeks' time, by 14th February, this government in second term is 1 year old. I know commissioners came in much later, but it follows that you are also 1 year old. It means that we have only 3 more years. And everybody, every commissioner now have to sit up. Everybody have to sit up. You don't have the luxury of time. Every day is important to you and to the state. All our plans, all our projects must be completed, including the new ones that we're about to embark on.
Well, let's tell you that Nigeria's House of Representatives Committee on Environment is concerned about the removal of the Environmental Health Council of Nigeria and 13 other professional bodies from the 2024 budgetary allocations. The chairman of the committee during the 2025 budget defense session says that the non-release of funds by the ministry will hamper efforts aimed at tackling the country's environmental challenges.
Prominent among other concerns of the committee is that effective 1st January 2024, the Environmental Health Council of Nigeria and 13 professional bodies / councils was removed from budgetary allocations. The same 13 bodies have since been reinstated, leaving only ECON. Let me use the opportunity to call on the Honorable Minister to work closely with the committee.
Let me what has happened is quite good. we will go back. They will start to sort out the discrepancies they have mentioned, and I'm sure by next week, whether I'm here or not, it will be sorted out.
The Multinational Joint Task Force, as part of efforts to strengthen regional solidarity, has awarded medals to officers and men from Nigeria, Chad, Cameroon, and Niger for their contributions to the ongoing fight against insurgency in the Lake Chad region. The MNJTF provided support to wounded soldiers and the families of those who lost their lives in the fight against insurgency in the Lake Chad. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
The battle to ending terrorism has been the cause in the Lake Chad. Armed forces use both gunfire and persuasive strategies.
We have facilitated the repatriation of over 30,000 refugees and internally displaced persons, helping them return to their communities and restoring their normal lives. During Operation Lake Sanity 2, which was conducted from the 23rd of April to the 23rd of July last year, we dismantled crucial terrorist logistic bases, neutralizing over 310 terrorists and crippling their operational capabilities. Our efforts have also led to the arrest of over 160 logistics suppliers and informants, as well as the surrender of more than 800 terrorists and their families, indicating a decline in support of terrorism.
Political leaders, traditional and members of the diplomatic corps, among others, converged here to honor the selfless sacrifice of the men and officers of the MNJTF. Hamid Usman, a soldier who lost both limbs amidst battle, smiled as he received support.
L'opération Lake Sanity 2, menée sur une période de 3 mois, avec 2 prolongations stratégiques de 45 jours, chacune a été un tournant majeur dans notre lutte contre Boko Haram. Cette opération a permis la destruction des bases terroristes dans la région de Kida-Ougo.
Families of fallen heroes were also supported.
I'm extremely happy, but I said so, that while I'm happy, we shouldn't forget that the war is still not over. The minds of the army should not completely be diverted from the northeast, because northeast still has some certain serious threats. We need to clear the remnants.
The battle to ensuring peace in the Lake Chad region remains a challenge, and the Multinational Joint Task Force says they are determined to work closely with the communities to address some of the security threats bedeviling the region. From Jamaina, headquarters of Chad, for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Coming up next year on News Now, Rwanda demands solution after DRC peace talks fail. We have that story and more in a moment. Thanks for staying with us. Rwanda's President Paul Kagame says recent peace talks with DR Congo had been merely a photo opportunity for leaders and demanded new efforts to solve their deadly conflict. Peace talks hosted by Angola were cancelled at the last minute in December when leaders hit deadlock over Rwandan demand that Congolese negotiations talks directly with rebels operating on their territory. Rwanda-backed rebels known as the March 23 movement, M23, since 2021, have seized swaths of Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, displacing thousands and triggering a humanitarian crisis. Rwanda says its aim is to tackle the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, an armed group primarily composed of Hutu militants formed in the wake of the 1994 Rwandan genocide.
There were meetings to discuss how to end this problem. Rwanda was present. But in the end, even now as we speak, the importance is not ending the problem. The importance is in the process. It's in the appearance to be photographed, and have to have results, build on addressing the root causes. The FDLR question has to be answered. There is no dodging, being dodge about that and circling around the problem endlessly. We have to find a solution.
Meanwhile, the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo says the country is determined to recover the areas occupied by the March 23 movement, also known as M23 rebels, at a press conference as peace talks fail with Rwanda. The Congolese army spokesman, General Sylvain Ekenge, stated this while addressing the press on Thursday. He said fights are continuing and the loyalist forces are determined to liberate the country despite the reinforcements from the terrorists.
Le Rwanda, c'est l'empire du mensonge et vous suivez régulièrement les côtés un peu bipolaires de son président qui aujourd'hui encore a péroré sur des énormités concernant la République démocratique du Congo. En résumé, ce qu'ils veulent, c'est de continuer les processus de pillage. En résumé, le Rwanda d'aujourd'hui ne peut pas vivre sans voler en République démocratique.
Les combats continuent et les forces royalistes sont déterminées, une fois pour toutes, à libérer cette partie en dépit des renforts des terroristes qui continuent de venir et surtout des renforts de l'armée régulière rwandaise qui continue à affluer sur notre territoire.
Et que nous avons maintenant plus en plus de voix qui sont en train de s'élever et surtout qui sont en train de se désolidariser du Rwanda, qui est un pays maintenant isolé et qui doit assumer le prix politique de ses choix, à savoir le choix de ne pas venir au sommet de Luanda le 15 décembre et de ne pas participer à la recherche constructive d'une paix durable dans la région.
The Stop a Cop campaign in Uganda has condemned in the strongest possible terms what it called the recent arrest, mistreatment and unlawful imprisonment of prominent Ugandan human rights lawyer Aaron Kiza. The Stop a Cop says the development is shocking and represents a grave affront to justice, the rule of law and human rights in Uganda. Well, still ahead here on News Now, Trump reveals plans for meeting with Putin and conflict de-escalation. We have that story here on News Now. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Earlier on, we discussed about the Stop a Cop, which is indeed a movement and campaign that's taking place in Uganda, and the arrest that is also taking place in that country. Well, joining me now is Kakuma Eva, human rights lawyer and communications officer at Youth for Green Communities. She's joining me all the way from Kampala in Uganda. Thank you so much for being here, Eva. Can you provide more information about Aaron Kiza? That's the person we're focusing on, Aaron Kiza's arrest, including the circumstances surrounding it and the charges brought against him.
Right, thank you so much for having me. Aaron Kiza is a Ugandan advocate, but he is prominently known for his passionate work in defending human rights activists and also defending human rights generally. So Aaron Kiza has been working on very many cases that were to do with human rights activists under the Stop a Cop campaign that had been arrested. In fact, one of his cases is coming up on Monday. Unfortunately, he won't be able to represent the arrested activists because he will be in prison. On the 7th of January this month, Aaron Kiza had gone to represent one of his clients who is the prominent political leader, or let's call him the former leader of opposition in Uganda, Dr. Besigye. When he entered court, he was stopped by the army officers from joining the defense lawyers of the team. And because of that, he was manhandled as he was trying to join the team. He was manhandled and taken behind the dock to join his clients. It was so unfortunate that a few moments later, he was whisked away to an unknown, later brought back, tried, convicted, and sentenced on the same day. He was sentenced to 9 months imprisonment in the government prison. So that is the situation at hand. We have had news from the teams that have been visiting him in prison, and he is not in good condition. He has been tortured. He's not doing well physically, but that is what has happened to Advocate Aaron. He's a prominent and celebrated human rights lawyer in Uganda.
All right. It seems there is a way of actually suppressing human rights activists, especially in Uganda, because all through the years we've heard of cases where there's suppression. When a human rights activist wants to speak, it's like the government goes after them. Can you share with us, if you have any details on any of the allegations that have been put on Aaron Kiza? What allegations are they saying that he has indeed committed? And can you also let us know if there is any protest of some sort that's calling for his release anytime soon?
So he was charged and convicted of the offense of contempt of court under the UPDF Act. That is under where the General Court Martial acts. So that is the offense that he was charged and sentenced with. About having any hope that he will come out soon, the legal remedies that are available are, one, to appeal, because if someone has already been sentenced by court, you can only appeal against the sentence and other factors. However, we don't really have a lot of hope in the appellate decision, because the appeal is supposed to be done to the appellate court of the General Court Martial. Maybe just to give you a background, is that the law does not allow for civilians to be tried in the General Court Martial. And it is for one of those reasons that Advocate Kiza Aaron was so passionate about representing his client, Dr. Kiza Besigye, because he, as a civilian, was not supposed to be tried in the General Court Martial. Unfortunately for the advocate, he had to join his client behind the dock, and he was charged and convicted and sentenced even before his client's case was complete. So that's one of the legal remedies that we have, the appellate, which is to appeal. But also we would like to, we are not sure that the appellate decision can be in favor of the advocate. The other one is to have the peaceful protests against this sentencing and ruling of the General Court Martial. However, even yesterday we had instances of peaceful protesters who were also arrested and are now being held and remanded. So we are in a situation more like a hopeless situation, but we are still pushing on, because we know that the power belongs to us, and that if we keep doing this, we will surely break through.
Human rights lawyer Kakuma Eva, thank you so much for speaking with us here on News Now. And we look forward to hear more updates, especially on what has happened to Mr. Kiza. Thank you for your time. Let's also tell you that U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has announced that Russian leader Vladimir Putin wants to meet with him, and arrangements are being made. Trump made the statement at a meeting with Republican governors, emphasizing the need to end the conflict in Ukraine, which he described as a bloody mess. Trump's plans for a meeting with Putin comes amid concerns over his stance on Ukraine and NATO. Now, during his campaign, Trump promised to bring peace to Ukraine, but has yet to propose a concrete ceasefire or peace deal. His criticism of the large amount of military aid sent to Ukraine and his doubts over continued U.S. involvement in NATO have raised eyebrows in Washington. The United States, under President Joe Biden, has been Ukraine's biggest wartime backer, providing military aid worth over $65 billion since February 2022.
President Putin wants to meet. He's said that even publicly. And we have to get that war over with. That's a bloody mess. Soldiers are being killed by the millions. I looked at some very graphic pictures yesterday. The soldiers that are being killed, you know, it's a flat field. The only thing that stops a bullet is a body. And there are a lot of people in the big surprise, and it's going to be a very unpleasant surprise, is how many people were killed in that war. It's much higher than the press is reporting. You know, when a building comes down, these are big buildings. They're 2 and 3 blocks long, different kind of construction. They're long and not that tall in many cases, but they're 20 stories. But when a building like that comes down and they say nobody was injured, no.
Let's also tell you that hundreds of mourners, including all 5 living current and former U.S. presidents, packed into Washington's National Cathedral on Thursday to mourn Jimmy Carter, the 39-year president of the 39th, president of the United States. As the somber ceremony began and a bitterly cold wind blew, Carter's flag-draped coffin was carried up the stone steps of the cathedral by military honor guard after its trip from the Capitol, where his body had laid in state for 2 days. Fellow Democratic President Joe Biden will eulogize the 39th president who died on December 29 at the age of 100. Republican President-elect Donald Trump was among the luminaries at the funeral before Carter's body is returned to Georgia, where Carter was raised as a peanut farmer. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden has expressed optimism about the ongoing ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. According to Biden, real progress has been made and he remains hopeful for prisoner exchange. However, he noted that Hamas is indeed currently hindering the exchange. Biden's efforts to broker a ceasefire comes as he nears the end of his term in office. The president has been pushing for a deal that would bring an end to the conflict and secure the release of hostages held by Hamas. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, sports is up next. Sports, Frimpong Manso has been appointed head coach of Ghana's under-17 national team, the Black Starlets, replacing Laria Kingston, who exited during the Africa Under-17 Cup of Nations qualifiers. Tasked with securing qualification for the next tournament, Manso returns to the role he held from 2009 to 2010 and brings experience as a former Black Starlets and Black Metours assistant coach. The veteran coach, a former Ashanti Kotoko and Ghana player, has also managed clubs such as Stade d'Abidjan, Karela United and Medema SC. The Black Starlets, 2-time African champions in Ghana's first FIFA World Cup winning team, last qualified for the Continental Tournament in 2017, finishing second in Gabon. Jude Bellingham and Rodrigo led Real Madrid to a 3-0 victory over Real Mallorca on Thursday, securing a spot in the Spanish Super Cup final against Barcelona. Bellingham's clinical second-half goal, his 8th in 10 games, gave Madrid the lead in Jeddah, supported by enthusiastic local fans. A stoppage-time own goal from Martin Valjeant and a late close-range finish by Rodrigo sealed the win. Real Madrid will seek revenge for the October Clasico loss to Barcelona. Despite early chances from Lucas Vazquez and Rodrigo, Mallorca held firm in the first half. Madrid lost Urlain Chouamani to a head injury early in the second half, though he later confirmed he was unarmed. And that's all we have for you for the news this hour. But before we go, let's take a look at some of the major stories. Inspector General of Police has ordered clampdown on perpetrators of Borno police station attack. Telecoms operators want new tariffs increase implemented by first quarter of 2025. And we also told you that Rwanda has demanded solution after DRC peace talks fail. You can watch News Central live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, OHB, Limex, Avo TV. You can stream live on YouTube as well as on Facebook. My name is Joe Hansen. The ladies will be here for Jasiri. Make sure you stay tuned on a Friday. It's Hot Topics. Don't miss it for anything. Good morning.